let's get the meeting started. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And seeing that we're doing Zoom, everybody should have been on, and we don't have anybody else here, so we won't talk about fire exits and pagers and beepers and telephones being off, and go right to a roll call.
Henry Hale.
Yes, I'm here.
Chairman W. is absent. Boswell LaFors.
Here.
Roger Black.
Here.
Marion Alexandra absent. Patrick Duhane.
Here.
Alexander Forrester is absent. Melanie Marr.
Here.
Stephen Einhoff.
Here.
Alan Reed.
Here.
Drew Arthur.
Here.
Matthew Favreau.
Just for the record, we have we have,
Two board members.
where'd she go?
Next screen down.
Okay, so we got Tom Woods, Barb Hebert, Aaron Ovius, Matt Favreau on Zoom.
Yeah, Joseph Kruka, Kevin Hartson, Derek Rosenbaum.
And we'll start off with, I don't believe we have, well, I guess there's the whole business for.
It's actually a property we're not.
The Bay Road,
I'm sorry.
the Bay Road one?
Yes, I'm sorry, okay. Mr. Chairman, it's appeal number 21. What's that?
You have to do.
You haven't done the minutes from last time.
I'm sorry. Skip that. I apologize. All right, so we have roll call, and we need to approve last month's minutes. We have a motion on that,
Motion.
and a second,
Second.
and a roll call on that.
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Boswell LaFors.
Second.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
Melanie Marr. Yes.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman, that was January's minutes since we didn't have a February meeting, right?
Right.
And then that the notice was published in the paper as required. Another motion on that,
Second.
and second. So Roger, and roll call on that?
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Boswell LaFors.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
Melanie Marr. Yes.
And now on to the Bay Road.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, it's appeal 2179 at 29 Bay Road. They were asking for the zoning board of appeal for an extension granted March 10th, 2020 for an 8x10 single-family home encroaching in the front and the side yards located at 29 Bay Road. And I believe this is a letter. Aaron, are you here for this one?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just go over, I'll have Alan go over the details, then we'll let you fill in the board for the rest of the info.
Just a couple of slides, Mr. Chairman, you'll see that this is the Bay Road here, this is Allen Road here, it was this parcel right here at the intersection, and they were actually putting in this little corner here, so it was actually only 20.5 feet from the front, and it was only 13.6 feet from the side. That's what was approved a year ago. Okay, Aaron, anything you want to add to that?
No, very simply, the Holdens reside north of the border, and we got this approval a year ago, hoping to build the construction over the summer, but due to travel restrictions, they were unable to come down here without substantial quarantine and delays, so the project's been pushed back a year. So our variance is due to expire, so we're looking to get a 1-year extension, and we hope to build it this summer. Hopefully travel will ease and they'll be able to come down and meet with their builder and move the project along. So there's absolutely no changes to the application, just due to the COVID restrictions, we were unable to construct last summer.
Thank you. Open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Anybody on Zoom wish to speak to this matter?
If you wish to speak to the matter, please unmute yourself.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and it would basically be extending a year to this variance because of the COVID situation that we're in. Anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
And a second? And a show of hands? And a roll call vote?
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Boswell LaFors.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane,
Yes.
Melanie Mark. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
If I say this wrong, Mrs. Burnell, I apologize. This is appeal number 2208 from Bronte Burnell, AKA Tiny Leaders Children Home at 6 Casey Loop. They're asking for a use variance. Request to be allowed to use and occupy the property for the purpose of running a child daycare center, which is a non-allowed use in the service center district. Alan can go over the details. Not a lot of people know where Casey Loop is. You can go over those, Mr. Reese, that'd be great.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is Hammond Lane coming down from Route 3 up here in the north. This right here is called Casey Loop. And the property we're looking at is this property right here. District 3 Fire Department sits out here on Route 3, so you may know that area. This is the doggy daycare place. It's not called doggy daycare, but this is the dog daycare place. Mansville is right here. We have auto parts dealer here, K&L Mechanicals over here. So this is that little strip mall out in the front. So this is what we're looking at. You see, this is commercial, this is all service in here, and this is industrial up back over here. And we're looking at this parcel right here. So here's a closer view. So this is the building here. It actually wraps all the way around here. This is completely fenced in here. Gravel turnaround pad area. There's garage doors on the back side as well as one on the front side. And then there's office areas up here in the front corner. Here's kind of what it looks like today. So that's that fenced-in area. This is the side building. Front door is there, the office area is here, garage door here, and then two on the back side. Okay, Ms. Murphy, anything you'd like to add, or any of your team that you have?
I don't think so.
You just want to kind of explain what your reasoning is for picking this place since it's not allowed use there?
Okay, so, I've been looking for buildings for probably the past 3 years, and I haven't been able to find anything. This one is kind of an open concept, as it's back on the, off the side of the road, and there's a fenced-in area already for some play area. And I'll be able to build exactly what I want inside to fit the needs of the daycare center that I want to move there.
Okay. I have a couple of comments for myself. And number one, there is some more heavy-duty type of trucks and equipment that go past that location. There's also a John Mansell plant right there. Are you aware of the odors that you might get?
Yeah, so the building itself sits off the back of the road quite a bit, and there's that big parking lot in the front. So the children will only be going in the main entrance only, and then in the back fenced-in area. So the truck shouldn't affect where the kids will be going.
But there's parts store, R.E. Michaels for the refrigeration, Explo Trucking, plus the John Mansell boiling down their tar. Are you aware of all those items?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
Sorry, so he was saying that there is John Mansville with their tar plant and the smells that come from that, along with a lot of the other more industrial uses that are there. He wants to make sure you're aware that all of those are there.
Yes.
And basically saying that if you have a problem with that, then don't come to the board or to the codes department because that's part of the area and that's how it is.
I'm sorry, I cannot.
Sorry, so he was basically saying that since, you are aware of that, if this was to be granted, then you wouldn't be able to really come to the board or to the codes department to complain of those issues, since you know that they're there.
Right. I won't do that. The kids will only be out for short periods of time anyway, so it shouldn't affect them.
All right, then we can go on to, well, actually we have to do a seeker first.
Let's have a public hearing first.
Excuse me?
Public hearing, any other questions?
Okay.
Ms. Murphy, you have,
No, for now,
Mr., huh?
for now.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm reading the name on the screen. Ms. Brunel, you have, who do you have with you?
I have Derek Rosenbaum, and then I have Kevin Hartson, who's the owner of the building currently.
Okay, so do either one of them have anything that they'd like to say, present to the board before we move on to our next step?
Yes, thank you, Alan. I'll go ahead. So I was asked by Ms. Brunel to provide proof of a lack of reasonable return. Sorry, my screen is making me look like I'm on a video camera. Anyway, so I did the typical report that you guys are familiar with, I believe, and I hope everyone on the board has a copy.
Yes.
And if you want, I'll take you through that real quickly.
All right.
So I'll just jump right to the numbers, which is starting on page 8.
I got a question for you, Derek. And
Go ahead.
it might be for Mr. Hartson there too. And has this ever been listed with anybody?
That's probably better answered by Ms. Brunel or the owner.
I didn't have a question.
Has it been listed with anyone? I don't think so. I think it was scooped up before it got to that point.
Is that correct? Is that correct, Kevin?
Yeah, we have not listed it with it.
So how did, well, I guess as far as I could tell, there was some knowledge of the property being vacated, and that's how you came about it, Bronzy?
Yeah, so some of my former clients, they knew that I was looking for a building. They actually were in the building prior to this, and then they had moved and they had told me that it was going up for sale. So I reached out to Kevin.
How long was the building actually vacant?
How long was the building vacant for?
My brother just moved out of it the past couple of months. Not even a month.
Okay.
So, the Hartson total opening,
Correct.
they use that as a second location because they've been up in the FedEx.
No, that was their primary location, and they moved over to Military Turnpike. So they've actually been over on the Military Turnpike now for, I believe, a couple of months, since the first of the year, I believe.
Hartson?
Yep.
Aren't they up in FedEx Plaza?
No, they have one over here off Military Turnpike, where Sugar Art used to be.
Global Sugar Art.
Yep,
right in
they
industrial-
took over that entire
Big
building.
industrial building, right as you pull into the right, they took over that big building. Mr. Hartson, are you got 2 locations or just that one?
This one here that we're selling on Casey Loop, and then the other one. And the other one is actually my brother's. I started the business with him a few years ago, and he has since bought me out, so he's actually moved over to the other one, to the other building, and I still own the building here.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're back to you, Derek. Can you go through some of the uses that you sort of highlighted, some of the things here, the animal hospital and the automobile repair and things like that? They seem like animal hospital's probably not going to be needed because there's quite a few in the area, but the automobile repair or body work?
So he was saying animal hospital, body repair, those are the ones that he was looking at particularly.
As far as where I listed all the allowed uses?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so,
Some of your rationale for, you said that it wouldn't be good for the area and things of that nature.
yeah, so as far as automobile sales and repair, there's a few on Hammond Lane, and typically you're gonna get a better return on those if they're in a higher traffic location, so because this is kind of off the beaten path and it's, low traffic counts, you know, there's a repair place on Hammond, there's one around the corner on Ruger Street, so both of those, you know, I think support the demand. They take care of the demand in that area, and they're both on higher traffic roads, so that's why, looking at those two, I didn't feel that they would be really the best use in this location. However, with that said, if you were to lease the building for one of those uses, you could probably lump it in with the others that I did in my analysis for about $5 a square foot. So general commercial use like that is probably going to run similar range, and as I showed in the financial calculations, that there's a pretty low return on that type of use.
About the contractor storage yard,
How about contractor storage yard?
Contractor storage yard.
you say it's too small, but it seems like a huge 2.3 acre lot and 8,000 square feet.
I'm just, which one's that under? I'm trying to find it.
It's
Okay,
on-
number 13.
Yeah, 13.
So as far as being able to store enough materials outside, it's typically a bigger lot than that, and that's why I looked at it that way.
Derek, it's been a contractor storage yard for 25 years. Historically, before HT owned it, was a contractor storage yard for a roofing company, and then for Monahan for 15 years. That's got some historic value, so it's a hard sell when that's what it was for 2 decades.
Okay, I guess I'm not looking at contractor storage yard as roofing. That would be more, to me, falling under one of the other uses that I did list as plausible. So, light industrial, wholesale business. So, I mean, wholesale plumbing or roofing, things like that. That's how I would view those. If for just a storage yard, that's different than what I was thinking, because if they're looking for just a storage yard without the building, you know, for exterior storage, then typically there's more space there. But again, if it's something like, was it Monahan's that was there before?
Yes, sir.
So looking at that, and if I was looking at comparables of buildings that were used for that, I would probably list that in you know, how I analyze properties in, I'd probably call that more of light industrial or wholesale. So contractor storage yard, if it does fit with how you guys view that, then again, I think that could fall into the same $5 a square foot with what I had used for all the other plausible uses that I analyzed.
And what type of buildings did you get your $5 per square foot from?
So from a number of properties that I've either appraised or have seen on the market, but in general, let me just see if I can pull them up. So other light industrial buildings that were used for either a general, I mean, if you look at light industrial across the greater Plattsburgh area, you're gonna find something that age and that size is gonna be in the $5 range. As you get, similar size or maybe larger, but newer building with more amenities and more loading docks, things like that, you're gonna be in the $6 range, and then $7 range is gonna be with, you know, the brand new stuff that has all the bells and whistles as far as, the amenities go. So that's kind of how those, rents break out as far as the types of buildings. Excuse me.
All right, so you want to go through, I know you came up with a analysis according to some of the other properties that sold in the area for various prices per square foot.
Sure. So, going to page 8 is the first analysis, and when there's a property owner and then someone looking to purchase, I kind of look at it from both angles to explain, you know, what the owner is looking at and then what the buyer is looking at. So this page would be from the owner's point of view currently, and if he were to try to lease the property, again, this is for those plausible uses that I listed in the allowed uses, which is generally commercial use, warehouse distribution, wholesale business, manufacturing, industrial, machine shop, research and development. So again, if something that you think is similar to those just with a different use in the code, I think that would apply. But generally $5 a square foot for the 8,000 square feet, taking out the typical vacancy, and then the expenses, after removing all of those along with the mortgage, debt service, it ends with cash flow of $961, which is pretty minimal for that much of an investment. And if you look at, you know, what the property is being offered for, and, you know, assume 25% equity, that's a 1.3% return, which is, you know, lack of a reasonable return for that type of property. And then if we go to the next page, page 9, this is also looking at it from the owner's point of view, and again, the options are if he could lease it, what could he lease it for, and could he get a return? That's what I showed in the previous page. This is looking at it as if he were to try to sell it, what are comparable sales selling for the allowed uses in that district. So I have to kind of look at it that way too. So this is showing other sales in the area, within the town, that sold for allowed uses in the same allowed uses that are in the SC district. And as you can see, I've listed 4 sales here, and the average sale price was about $30 a square foot. Right now, the owner has a purchase agreement for the buyer to purchase for $36.88 per square foot, which is about 20% higher than what the average sale price is for other allowed uses. So showing there that if the buyer can't convert the property to a non-permitted use, then the owner would have to sell the building for less, at a substantial loss.
Can I just interject here for a second on your analysis, Derek?
Sure.
I mean, the sales that you're showing are obviously dated, first of all. Second of all, I guess the argument about what the purchase price currently might be based on this non-permitted use would only show me that the value of the property is actually higher than what those prior sales were, and because there hasn't been any effort to try to sell it, it seems like you're trying to make an argument that it looks like the valuation of that property could be a lot higher, but there's been really no effort to see if that price could be gotten for a permitted use.
So true. I mean, without having recent. 2018 is only 3 years back, and that's typically, we go 3 to 4 years back on appraisals which are accepted, by banks and all that. But these were the most comparable as far as condition, and they were being purchased for use, for a similar, I should say, for an allowed use that is an allowed use in the SC district. So if I were to look at it and say, what's it worth based on comparable sales for any of the allowed uses in this district, then that's where it's coming in at.
But wouldn't you have to take into effect the mass change in real estate activity on all fronts, given the last 2 years?
I mean, there's, in this, property type or property class, for let's say, lack of a better, catch-all term, commercial, industrial, they're showing 2 to 3% per year. So if you, index that up from 2018, there's still a significant, higher price being paid by the applicant for the non-permitted use. And I think that's in and of itself one of the reasons, because she's been looking, and for her it financially makes sense because all the other options are much more expensive. And of course, the owner, if he can sell it for more and gets a quick offer, from someone looking to convert it, then it makes sense for him.
But wasn't this, I thought this building in the recent past, I guess, sold for $275. Is that not true? And is that when they bought it?
I believe that was a non-valid sale, but maybe Kevin, let's take a look and see.
Because I remember this being on the market for $275. Is that not right? Or?
So it was purchased by Casey Luke Partners for $264 in 2012.
And then when did the current owner buy it?
Or I'm sorry, that was the prior owner. That was the seller at the time. So the current owner purchased it for $264,000, which was a valid sale. So from 2012 to now, again, it's only been recently with industrial and commercial that there's been, some uptick in the market. But that was a reasonable price, I think, back then, and that shows also that a lower price than what's currently on the table was paid back then, but I'm not sure.
Well, it's considerably higher than the 4 comps that you gave. I mean, it's almost 10% higher than the comps that you have at $33 a foot. And that was it was a lot longer ago, so it just seems.
Well, that was about, $33 a square foot, which is about where the higher end of my comps are showing. But there's definitely been some deferred maintenance to the building since then.
Right.
I believe it needs a roof, and there's some issues with one of the walls. So those things come into play, and that's why the comparables I chose were based on similar condition.
What about the buildings that are being built over near the old airport by Luck Brothers currently? Apparently somebody's building some units there for storage. My understanding is there's 3 buildings, 2 of them already pre-rented already before they're finished. Have you looked into those to see what kind of comps and what kind of pricing they're getting per square foot?
That's over on the old airport, you're saying?
Yep, just on around the corner apparently. You guys would know what's up
TDC,
front?
it's the TDC building built on the double S curves right by North.
60,000 square foot building.
Okay, the 60,000 square foot building, and then next to their office building.
Correct.
But are they being
Yes,
split up?
I mean, yeah,
It may not be
we're
the same
looking into
building.
that, but
2
I mean,
buildings?
a brand new building.
No, one building.
It's not comparable to this, but I guess what's the question about that building?
Well, the price per square foot that they're renting those buildings out.
Oh, that's, so that type of building's gonna be at least $7 a square foot. They haven't rented them yet,
Apparently two of them have already been rented, pre-rented,
I should say they haven't been.
occupied,
They
they're not
haven't
occupied.
finished building yet, so they haven't occupied them, but, yeah, I mean, I am in touch with TDC, obviously, from time to time doing this work, but,
I guess my comment is only the fact that if those are already pre-rented before they're finished, it seems like there would be a higher demand for that kind of storage. And these arguments that I'm seeing here don't really show that the market can't bear some other use of the building that is in a permitted use line.
I mean, I think the market could definitely, absorb this property without a problem. It's just gonna be at a lower price than what's currently being offered, and my task is to explain why the owner cannot realize a reasonable return, compared to what's being offered by a non-permitted use. I mean, again, with what I showed at the $5 a square foot, there's not much of a return there, and that $5 per square foot is a significant difference from the $7 a square foot, namely because of the age of the building, the lack of loading docks, the issues with the roof and one of the walls, and the dated finishes of the office and the way it's laid out inside. So you get a brand new 60,000 square foot building with, the office space positioned correctly, the new heating systems, everything brand new, as well as the loading docks, and the way the building is functionally correct. That's why they're gonna get that. Plus, being right there, that is a better location than Casey Loop, hands down. It's right in the middle of all the brand new development with Morse, and that's where people wanna be. So, location definitely plays into that too.
Any other questions, Vassal?
Not at this time.
So you're basically on page 9, we pretty much have talked about that, and you're going over to the page 10 now?
Yep.
Well, do we have to look at page 10? It's not really the applicant.
Okay. So
Well-
page 10, and this is where I switch over and kind of show from the applicant's point of view as far as where financially it doesn't, it would make more sense for her to purchase this than something else,
Right.
if she's allowed to get the
Yeah.
permitted, the non-permitted use. Hold on one second. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So, this is just to kind of set up the next page, but it shows, currently what the applicant is leasing space for a daycare center. What she's leasing it for, $6,000 a month, which includes rent, utilities, maintenance, for a smaller building. And then if you look at, if she were to purchase this building, and what you have to pay for taxes, insurance, utilities, and maintenance, to compare apples to apples, she's looking at only about $3,800 per month, in expenses, for the building. And even if you factor in what she's going to have to do as far as renovations, then you're still only she's just under $5,000 a month, about $4,800, so.
What is your estimate of cost of repairs, Derek?
Sorry?
What is the estimate of cost of repairs?
For renovations?
Not renovations, just the repairs based on the roof and the wall that you mentioned.
I think Bronzy told me about $170,000 total.
Well, that's a build out though, right? You're talking renovations?
That includes everything in.
Right.
So, I looked at it both ways, afterwards doing this, and again, it comes in about $4,800 even with all those included to get her, to, the building that she wants to use it for. So, that's still 20% lower than what she's paying now, and she's obviously building equity in the building, improving the building, and not just, spending money on rent.
the arguments that we're looking at here have to do with the seller not being able to get a reasonable rate of return, not the occupant. So I don't know that those things really play into my thinking here, because we're really just looking at the seller, owner, not being able to realize a return.
Right, and I understand that, and in the past, similar things have been requested, and you'll see on the next page, but, I just wanted to make sure I covered everything, but I understand that it is the owner's lack of reasonable return.
Right.
So if we go to page 11, and again, in other analyses I've done for other applicants, this piece was requested from, I don't know if it's from the board or just the zoning codes office, but as far as the applicant looking for, what if they were to look for other property, is there other opportunity to buy similar property in a district where these uses would be allowed, so the daycare use would be allowed. So basically, again, I'm looking for commercial industrial buildings in zoning districts within the town where a child daycare center is allowed. And the most recent comps that are available where these uses would be allowed are showing a much higher price per square foot. So compared to what the owners currently has the property under contract for. So we're showing an average sale price of $61 a square foot about, and again, she's got the building under contract for about 37. So the difficulty or the difficulty in this working financially is that the districts where the child daycare center use is allowed, comparables in those districts are selling for quite a bit more. So she's trying to be able to convert this use in a district where it's not allowed, but to be able to gain some or save some finances as far as the build out and the purchase. So that's all I have on the numbers.
All right. Is anybody else out on Zoom that wants to talk to this matter?
Anybody else on Zoom want to speak to this matter?
Is this public, you open a public hearing? Or you asked about 13?
Well, I thought we opened the public hearing portion. We didn't?
No.
No. Okay, public hearing portion of the meeting. Anybody else that would like to speak to this matter? And
If there's anybody else that wants to speak to this matter, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. No?
so we can close the public hearing portion of the meeting and get the board members' thoughts.
Now we have to do a seeker. If there's no other comments, now we do the seeker.
I didn't know if anybody had any comments that they would like to share with the rest of us.
Yeah, I personally,
Yeah.
I don't see that there's been any real evidence of a lack of reasonable return, because it hasn't been marketed for any other use. I mean, in a sense, we could turn around and grant this use here, and then the argument would be all of a sudden it's worth 50% more, because the comps for that use is driving the prices of other areas in the town higher than its current use. But I don't see the argument being held up, just given what's going on in that area of this location. I don't see it.
I guess my opinion is it's just because of the area itself that I wouldn't think it would be conducive to a child care area.
I'm with Vasso on his thinking that if we're changing the use, and it's based on the owner not getting unable to sell the place, that hasn't been demonstrated.
So we can go on to the seeker.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, so we did it was submitted as a short form seeker. The applicant action, or the project, is a daycare center at 6 Casey Loop. Bernice Burnell filled this out. Bronzy Burnell filled this out. Total acreage is 2.26 acres. The following questions are answered the following. Is the proposed action a use under zoning regulations? No. Is it consistent with an adopted comprehensive plan? No. Was the proposed action consistent with predominant character of existing built or nature landscape? They put yes. Is the site proposed action located in adjoint to a critical environmental area? Answer is no. Will proposed action result in substantial increase of traffic levels? They put no. Is the public transportation of the site proposed near the site of the action? Yes. Are there pedestrians, accommodations, bicycle routes available on or near the site of proposed action? No. Does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? Of proposed action will exceed requirements described design features and technologies? No. Will the proposed action connect to existing public-private water supply? Yes, we have town water and sewer over there. Will the proposed action connect into existing wastewater utilities? Yes. Does the site contain structures that is listed on the state, national, or registered historical site? No. Is the proposed action located in an archaeological sensitive site? No. Does any portion of the site proposed action lands adjoining to the proposed actions contain wetlands, water bodies regulated by federal, state, or local agencies? The answer was no. Would the proposed action physically alter, encroach into existing wetlands, water bodies? No. Number 14, identify typical habitat types that occur like found in the project site. So does the site of the proposed action contain any animal species habitated listed in state or federal threatened, endangered?
No,
But
14 wasn't actually answered.
Yeah, there's no answer for it. I had none, so I just skipped it with no answer.
All right.
Well, we won't say incomplete application, but the answer wasn't there. Will the proposed action create stormwater discharge from either point or non-point sources? The answer was no. Will the stormwater discharge flow to adjacent properties? The answer is no. Will the stormwater discharge be directly conveyed to systems runoff? They put no, but I believe this does not have a stormwater system here. I don't see a retention pond, so it would directly deposit into a stormwater system, which I believe flows down Casey Loop into there. Do I know that for a fact? No, but we're just going on what we have for pictometry up in front of us. Number 18, does the proposed action include construction activities that result in an impoundment of water liquids, detention, retention, waste, lagoon, or dam? The answer is no. Has the site proposed action or an adjoining property been located in an active or closed solid waste management facility? The answer is no. Has the site of the proposed action adjoining property been subject to remediation? The answer is no. Signed by Bernice Burnell. Part 2. This is the lead agency part. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use zoning regulations? No, or small impact may occur. So that's also a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the land? But no, or small impact may occur.
I would say no to small on that one.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? The answer was no on here. Will the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics caused by a critical environmental area? Alan, correct me, we don't have any of those.
We don't have any of those, no.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic affected infrastructure, mass transit, biking, or walkway? The answer was no. Will the proposed action cause an increase in use in energy, and if it fails to incorporate reasonable energy conservation, or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public and private water supplies? Moderate to large impact may occur.
Why?
I disagree with that one.
I don't think it is.
They checked it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm going off what they checked.
Yeah, but they're telling you to change it to a small.
Well, you get eight gallons per person per thing. When you go from somebody that, if you're doing, and don't quote me on this, how many, 100 kids, you will be drastically increasing.
We don't have any of those numbers to make that determination. Do we know how many kids are gonna be there, or
Nothing on the seeker has been indicated of the numbers.
we don't know?
So I'm guessing that the previous use and this use,
It will be
previous use was
increased.
using a lot more water cleaning the trucks and everything else, opposed to a child going to the bathroom.
Well, what difference is it from where they are to where they're going, it's still in the same districts, right?
But
So
it's for
public water,
this.
public sewer?
But it's this use, you're looking at it for here.
I'm saying where they are now, the same amount of people on the system is the same as it, right?
Well, it's just for this building, is there gonna be a drastic increase in water usage and sewage use?
Right.
So
So,
you put-
so Boston's looking at the overall, the town system isn't gonna
It's
change.
the same system, it's not like it's a
Right.
separate
Right,
system
but
here,
it's
so
just
I don't
this-
know it's gonna add any more.
Yeah, but it's just to this building, that's all we have to look at.
So I think
It's a
it's
system,
still,
not the building.
I think you're still getting the same thing, it's gonna either be no or small.
Right.
I don't think it's gonna be, anything higher than that.
No.
I'm gonna put the board change this. Will the proposed action impact the character, quality, and important historic, archaeological, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora or fauna? Will the proposed action result in an increase of potential erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No, small to impact may occur. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No.
So that's like being developed already, that's why a lot of those are no, because they're not proposing an addition or anything else, they're proposing just to occupy the building with it. So,
It's just not proposed under the zoning regulations, the first couple ones. This did not go to the county, I believe.
so the recommendation is still a negative declaration.
So we need a motion to say that we would make it a negative declaration to seeker.
Second.
And show of hands on that, and then a roll call vote.
Henry Hale.
Yes.
Basil LaFors.
Yes.
Roger Black.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
Melanie Marr.
Yes. So just going back to the discussion, I guess, and I guess the other part of this is the inherent character of the neighborhood, is that one of the items on the list for use variance?
Well, for the first item is that it go against the zoning ordinance. Will the proposed action create material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No, I'm not talking about this, I'm just talking about the use variance for four-point questionnaire that we.
On your blue
through.
card.
Oh, okay,
We didn't discuss the,
no.
uh,
Well, the first one is the major one, where they're not, cannot realize a reasonable return substantial as shown by competent financial evidence. And that's the main one that everybody has to meet.
Mr. Fabro, do you want to chime in on this?
I'm trying to piece together every good word that I heard, so if Steve or Alan can just give me the last minute of what they were discussing. I think I got it.
We just went through the seeker, Matthew, sorry, we went through the seeker, and we did a negative deck on the seeker, but the only two things were the number one and number two part of the seeker, saying that it was not in conformance with the current ordinance. And I'm sorry, hold on, I'll get the second question was, consistent with adopted comprehensive plan, those were the two no's. And then Vasa was discussing with the chairman on the beginning to answer the first four questions for the use variance requirements. So any thoughts on the reasonable return to try to get through number one?
As far as trying to find a way to grant the variance based on that?
I did not say that.
Okay, so, listening to the presentation, the reasonable return part is kind of what caught me. Specifically the fact that this property, from what I could tell, has never been listed for sale with a realtor. Correct?
Correct.
So I think we kind of always asked that, demanded it, made sure that there was some, at least history of it being listed and not sold for X amount of time to even try to get into that question. I tax at his disposal. I just don't know if there's enough there to even get past that first hurdle as far as reasonable return for the current owner. That's where I kept getting hung up, and I think that's kind of the road Vassal was going down.
So I guess at this question, or at this point, would I be able to table until next month?
You want to table the decision?
Yeah.
I think what the board's gonna wanna know is the reason for tabling. Are you gonna table this so that the owner can list it on the, list it for sale for a certain period of time to see if there's anybody who actually wants to buy it for its intended use? Or if there's no one to list it, then you have more to base your, application on? Or what is your reason?
Well, I'm just having a hard time hearing what you guys are saying to begin with, so I'm not really sure, but it doesn't sound like we have enough information to be able to present tonight to be able to get the use passed.
I'm gonna give you a little free advice, is that there's 4 questions that have to be answered on behalf of the owner. So you're asking for a variance on behalf of Mr. Hartson, not on behalf of yourself. They're having a hard time even getting through question 1, let alone question 2, 3, and 4, that you have to show proper criteria, that all their use has been exhausted, that it's been on the market, it's not gonna critically change there's the 4 use variance questions. And not going too deep, you gotta get through not 1, but you gotta get through all 4 of them to try to get a positive vote. So even if it was listed for, a couple months, that doesn't guarantee that you're gonna get a positive vote. And that's just my opinion. I'm not a voting member, but to see some of that's what the precedent of they were asking all the questions. Has it been this? Can it do this? Substantially, when you have all the other ones around you that are all the allowed uses in there, and that's what's allowed around you, and there's an auto parts store, everything that was kind of laid out, that's what it's being used for. It's a very difficult variance to ask for. So if you're gonna ask for a table, you might wanna look at all 4 of those questions to see if they can be achieved.
Right, so I guess that's what I want is to go ahead and table it till next month so we can, Kevin and I can actually sit down and go through those questions and answer them a little bit more thoroughly.
We can make that, motion, that we would table it for a month and hopefully get further information.
It's fun.
Okay. Roger said, made the motion, got a second?
Second.
Second. And show of hands, and a roll call vote?
Henry Hill,
Yes.
Basil Ford,
Yes?
Roger Black,
Yes.
Patrick Duhane. Melanie Moore.
Yes.
Alright, so you guys been tabled.
Thank you. And who do we have for the Della signage?
Joe, are you available? Are you there, Joe?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, we'll read through it, then we'll let you take off from there. So this appeal is appeal number 2209, is on behalf of Christopher Della Bella, Della Kia, Della Drive. They're asking for an area variance request to be allowed to install 3 building signs on Della Drive, frontage which is 79 feet, which is 20 square feet more than what's allowed within a commercial district, as well as install a monument sign standing 24 feet in height, when the allowable height is, when a commercial district is 10 feet in height from a monument to a freestanding sign. That being said, Alan has all the attachments that have been given to us. We can kind of go over the square footage and where they're located.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Della Kia sits right here. This is Military Turnpike. This is Route 3 intersection. You have Della Honda. You have the Mitsubishi. You have the Toyota, Tractor Supply, and this is where the new Della Kia dealership is being built currently. You can see this whole area is all zone commercial. So this is the area right here that's being built. Okay. You'll notice they front on Military Turnpike as well as Della Drive, so they have 2 front yards. So here's the building. This is the front facing on the Della Drive. This faces here towards Military Turnpike. This is our detention basin here. So you'll notice that they're not proposing any signage on this frontage. only on this frontage here, and then the monument sign that's gonna be extra high out here. So this has been provided by the engineering staff. So you can see they've got two signs here in the front. This sign here is for the service bay area, and this is where that monument sign is gonna go out here on this island. This is a little pulled out view so you can see a little closer. There's the frontage, here's the frontage, these two facing this direction, this one here as well is facing this direction, and there's nothing on this side facing towards that one. And then I also have, so this is what we're looking at, service over service bay, Kia, and the word Della. Has to be their sizes, and this is that freestanding sign, so we're looking for a variance for the height, because they added these full panels here instead of a single pole. That made this a monument sign, which is only allowed to be 10 feet high, and this one here they're proposing 24. Okay, Joe, all yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hang on, before we start, for the board's information, we've been through this before. This is one application for two variances, basically, right? Two signs. So the applicant is either gonna get an approval of both or a denial of both. May wanna ask the applicant to resubmit two applications, as we've done in the past. Just throw that out there now before we go through this.
Did he understand?
Okay, I think we'll stay with the same application. This was done similarly for the Toyota facility, which is to the east of this property, under one application with a similar type of directional sign for service. Same thing on the front of the building for the two signs, and then a monument sign, which also to the east, they have one at 24 feet. So with this, the way it's being presented, we're asking for the variance for the number one sign, which is the monument sign. The setback requirements for the monument sign are to be 15 feet off of the property line, and because we have two frontages off of Military Turnpike and Della Drive, we're providing our monument sign 30 feet off of the property line off of Della Drive, and approximately 67 feet off of Military Turnpike. With that said, we also have a drainage easement or stormwater retention facility that's in place, and thus that's why we had to locate the sign further away from the property line instead of having it at 15 feet. And so our variance request is because of that setback further, and also there's a lot of utility crossings that are starting to go across there. NICEC brought utility poles for overhead power supply to this building, right in the same vicinity as closer to the road, obviously, to Military Turnpike, and it creates a little bit of obstruction. So we're trying to gain a little bit better visibility with the higher height of the monument sign from both the north and southbound traffic on Military Turnpike. The sign will be facing north and south, but primarily it's return to the, maximum amounts, but as it relates to putting the quantity of all three on the front on Della Drive, that's what we're going for the variance. And then because of the quantity, the total area of everything off of Della Drive, it exceeds the square footage by 20 square feet.
A quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
You say that the 24 feet height is going to be the same height as an adjoining property.
Correct. To the east. Toyota is 24 feet.
And I just don't recall ever getting a variance for that.
Yes, that did fall under a variance. That was applied for a number of years ago by Ron Nolan with Luck Builders.
I remember they
Or
came
he
in,
may have been
it
with Conroy.
was a Scion thing, and then, I don't remember the height, but I remember the
Well,
Scion
that's
thing.
my question is, you know, we're, again, like we just talked about before the meeting actually started, was the taking something that he's giving us a fact of the 24 feet. Do we accept that fact, or do we want to get the information?
100% you want the information.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Those comments.
He was talking that he wants, he's trying to say if he wants to accept that you said it's 24 feet, or if he wants to look into the previous variance to verify that it was 24 feet.
Okay, I know I went out and I measured it to the best of my ability, and I found it over 20 feet. And so, based off of what I could pull for a tape measure out there, that was just my take off of it. And then what I got from the variance information from Ron Nolan also showed that it's 24 feet. But certainly, to verify that is something that you best answer for yourself.
Was there a different ordinance and effect of that as far as height?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I was asking if there was a variance, if there was a different ordinance in place back when that sign was put up on Toyota that would have required a variance for the height.
I don't think so, I don't think we changed that part. I mean, a freestanding sign right now is allowed to be 20 feet high.
Right.
So he's proposing 24 feet of a monument sign, which is only about 10 feet high.
Right.
So no matter what this sign would be, it still need a height variance. So,
Really, but I'm
But
just saying,
relying on
if,
the other
you know,
one.
yeah, if we
You'd have
got
to look
one
sign
that's
on
got
that.
24 feet or not.
find out what the
I'm
date
not
was, that the variance was
possible.
granted, and what was granted.
I'm gonna say, I don't know, and it's good, you don't wanna say I don't know, I don't know, we've had a lot of variances, and I don't know, Toyota's been there 5 years, 7 years.
Yeah. And I just don't remember a variance for height on that
I
sign.
don't either.
So that's the
I
reason.
know that only in the application that I've seen, it was a variance from the 20-foot freestanding height, which was, it was defined as a freestanding sign, not a monument sign.
So that's the difference right
And
there.
then, so the variance was given for the 4 feet, above the 20 feet because of, mainly the distance. Toyota is located obviously in the elbow of Della Drive, which extends from Military Turnpike to Route 3. So the variance was requested in only the terminology that I've seen from the documents that I saw for, because of its distance from both roads and trying to gain some kind of exposure.
And I'm not the best at math, and I think Vaso is probably better, but from 10 to 24 feet, is that 240%,
2.5 times basically.
200, so you'd be asking for a 240% variance from the
But I think
10.
the argument also goes towards the idea, and I think, Henry, you probably wanna, if you're
Well,
talking about a freestanding sign at
Well,
Toyota.
that's what he actually said, is that the Toyota sign was taken as a freestanding sign, not a monument sign. It sounds like is what is happening.
So that would be
Yes.
40 for 40%, right? Yeah, it would only be a 40%
20%.
or 20% compared to 240.
Right.
Right. So that's where we got our signals crossed, and I just want to verify that it's actually that height. You know, and take a look at our variance, which we don't have a copy of that to be able to look at.
No, but I think we first have to establish what type of
Sign
sign
it
we're
is.
talking about, because if it is a freestanding, we don't need a variance detail about that if we're not looking at a freestanding sign here, I guess, right?
Well, but that's what, if Toyota was taking as a freestanding sign, then 20 feet or 20 feet plus or minus a foot or two is no big deal. If you're talking about it was taken as a monument sign and it has a 20 or 20, then we're talking about a large variance that we've already given, but we're not sure of that fact. So that's the reason I'm looking at say that we should have this tabled and be able to get ourselves the rest of the information to look at the Toyota sign, see that you brought that one up.
Joe, do you have any other comparisons that we might want to pull that you're going to try to, I guess, assimilate this variance with another one, or is it just the Toyota one?
The Toyota one's the only one that is similar that I've pulled up and looked at, that is within the same, area and the same type of uses that, this building has. So I think the best comparison is that.
Do you have the square footage of do you have the square footage of the building size?
This, because of our setbacks with the 30 feet and 67 feet, the way that I understand a monument sign and why you would want it only so low, not too high, is because it would start to obstruct your visibility when it's too close to a road. When you're 15 feet from, the road on, in this case, for two road frontages. We're double and triple that for Military Turnpike and then double on Della Drive.
Do you have any idea the size of Della Toyota building compared to the size of this building?
They're approximately the same. I can't really, you probably see it in that, in one of the slides that, Alan went through. I think did it show a little bit of that developed property? What was it?
I want to say that Della Toyota is 60,000 square feet and this is 17,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm going to guess it's between 40 to 50,000 square foot building size is Della Toyota compared to 17,000 is the size of this one. So you also want to, I'm just kind of prepping you as saying, you want to know building size to building size, road frontage to road frontage, and distance, and when you're looking at the overall variances for everything.
The other items, Steve, I don't know if you want to do it now or not, but you have the Clinton County to read into the record, and also from Mr. Barker, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, I got, Joe, bear with us, we're going to read in the 239M referral that went down to the county, and we have opposition of a Jeffrey Barker that I'll read into the record. So this did go down to the county for a 239M referral, and it was disapproved by the county with their typical responses. Referral 1221, Town of Plattsburgh, Delakia area variance signs. For the request for the planning board at its March 3rd, 2021 meeting, voted 7-0 to disapprove this request with the following justification forwarded to the town. The county planning board believes that the proliferation of signs in size, quantity, animation, and height has a negative countywide impact along the road systems throughout Clinton County. The board believes that the signs are important and needed for businesses, but signs should be controlled in size, number, location, type, animation, and height. There are two major justifications for this belief: the aesthetic blight that is created in a multitude of signs, and the hazard created by signs, either through distraction, motorist, obstruction of view to motorists along the road. Many studies have proven that roadside signs distract motorists. This is a primary purpose of the sign, to catch motorists' attention and relay a message. The degree in which signs is necessary that relays important information that the motorist wants versus unwanted distraction is always and will be debatable. The town board does not find, the planning board does not find appropriate justification for the proposed height of the freestanding sign and encourage the applicant and the town to utilize height permitted in the zoning ordinance. The town is inclined to approve this request. The signs permitted should be equivalent to other similar uses in the same area that were also provided variances. The town is encouraged to enforce their zoning ordinance or to modify the existing zoning ordinance so that projects such as these do not always need a variance to achieve similar signage in majority of businesses within the nearby area. If your local board wishes to approve this request, it will require a majority plus 1 votes of the full membership of the local board, Glen Cutter. That being said.
Drew, you want to read Mr. Parker?
Sure. Merits, this is from Jeffrey Barker. Merits to oppose area variance number 2209. Area variance application number 2209 is Familia Bella LLC. The following facts are reasons for the town of Plattsburgh ZBA to deny the granting of the area variance applications to install 3 signs as well as monument signs in the above captioned matter. 1. From reading the public notice, the 3 signs for a total of 79.16 square foot, which is 20 square feet, over the allowed signage, allowance for signage would exceed the town area variance specifications by 28%. This is substantial and would be a detriment to the areas and surrounding businesses. 2. With respect to 1 above, some, or in quotation, some courts have looked favorably upon a board's application by simply mathematical analysis. For example, in case law, a court denied such application on showing that a construction would have exceeded an allowed lot coverage by only 15%. Comparing the lot coverage to signage coverage is a reason to this application. A copy of the New York State ZBA ordinance addressing this is attached hereunto for support. 3. With respect to the application to install a monument 24 foot high, refer to paragraph 2 above. This would be an extremely excessive 240% exceedance and adverse precedent setting variance affecting the town commercial districts. Number 4, the applicant appears to be self-created difficulty and does not warrant the variance. The applicant is free to comply with the town laws addressing commercial signage like other establishments do. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Jeffrey Barker. And on the back side, that we were double-sided, it has some of impact environmental, self-created, substantial, and alternate to variances. So if you guys would like to read through that.
Just for clarification on the math, it's not 240%, but it's only 140% more than the allowed size.
Okay. Do we know?
14 feet above 10 feet, which is 140 feet of what's allowed. So, not that it diminishes the substantiality of it, but it's not 240%.
And again, Della has road frontage on 2 different streets. Basically, they could have much more signage than they're actually asking for.
Could we clarify that though? Are they giving up that,
Yeah, they're not asking for signage.
I know they're not asking now.
Could have them come back.
It's different if they're giving it up or if they come back and say, well, now we want something to go on
I agree.
the military turnpike.
Can make that a condition.
Well, we're not there yet anyway, because we're still gonna be looking at hopefully further information.
To answer your question, Roger, if they did anything to the sign, if it was granted, as he presented,
Yeah,
if anything changes to the larger,
Then
they have to come back.
The variance
If
gets
they
reopened.
change it to a smaller sign, it wouldn't. Okay, so they're allowed to have, if they're granted, they're allowed to have those 3 signs. No other signs, just those 3,
yeah.
and then the one that's gonna be a monument freestanding height.
But I think
They
it
wouldn't
would,
need a
it would
variance
play
on
on the
the road.
board. If originally they said, well, we won't have anything on the military turnpike side, but we do want this extra whatever.
Della Drive.
Yeah.
They could say that, but even if they don't say that, that is automatically part of it. They can't come back, once they get a variance, they can't come back and say, oh, by the way, now I'd like to put a 50 square foot sign on this side. No, because now you've changed your variance, you have to come back and get reheard again.
No, I know
So,
that, yeah.
so don't think that, just because you grant something like this, they can circumvent you guys and come back and now put signs on the opposite side.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Well, I guess a question, I guess, to the applicant would be, the different ways to try to mitigate this request, at least on the monument sign, is one, turn it into a freestanding sign, and why not lower it to 20 feet versus 24 feet?
I'd be, on behalf of the owner, we have discussed having that as a 20-foot high sign.
But also the base of it would have to change.
The base of it, yes, we could go back and then see if, Kia, we'd have to get approval from them, and then have them provide us with a freestanding sign that would comply with the zoning, the ordinance requirements.
Well, if you did, then there'd be no request for a variance for that sign. The only thing you'd be asking for is the service sign.
Correct. And then, by going to a freestanding sign, at 20 feet high max, then no variance would be required. And then we request the, variance for the quantity of signs, off of, Della Drive, and then it exceeding the area only because it's off of Della Drive, because we're not requesting anything off of the frontage off of Military Turnpike. And that's the way, I would do that to, and we want to propose that, to go to a freestanding sign at 20 foot high, no variance required, and then just a variance required for the 3 building signs in area.
So you have your options in front of you. You can supply us more information on the variance with the height of the signs, or go to your second plan, which would be just do a freestanding sign at 20 feet height, and we're pretty much done. So right now, we would be tabling this motion for further information.
Do you want to open public hearing just in case anybody's?
All right.
And if that's what we're gonna do, the applicant should probably amend their application.
Correct.
Because right now we've got an application to approve potentially, it's an all or nothing. You can't approve half of the application and not the other half. We've made everybody else divide up their applications if they're asking, especially for signs, because it's a separate application for each sign, which is what I said at the beginning. So if we're gonna look not to deal with the monuments / freestanding sign, then a new application should be filed just for what is actually being asked for.
Okay?
Well, would that be the case that we'd actually just delete the number 1 sign, and then it only falls under the permit? And then it's just the 3 building signs, so that then the monument sign already complies with the ordinance?
Right, so if that's what you want to do, then you would need a new application, because your application now is for both. They can't take your application and say, we're gonna grant you half of what you applied for. They grant variance for all or nothing of the application. So if you're not gonna apply, if you don't think you want a variance anymore for that freestanding / monument sign, submit a new application just for what it is you're actually looking for.
So amend that, and then come back to the plan, table it for, the next month for the 3 building signs.
Yeah, that's what you so choose to do, yeah?
Yep.
And I would just mention that if you don't do that with the monument sign, change it to a pedestal or pedal,
The freestanding or
the
monument?
freestanding sign, then I would want to see some more information on the Delahunta sign.
And the Toyota also.
Yeah,
All right. open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is anybody else on Zoom that would like to speak to this matter?
If there's anyone on Zoom that wants to speak to the matter, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. Does not appear to be.
All right.
Oh. Oh, Tom does, okay.
I would like us to continue to go by our regulations and not continue to grant more variances. That's been my position since since we put through the land lease plan 10 years ago, and we have updated it recently, and I feel like that should be what we go by. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and
Was it done resolution?
we're gonna make that now.
Oh.
This will get tabled, we'll get a motion.
I
Be
make a
able to
motion.
get- Okay, Patrick's right there.
I'll second it.
And show of hands for tabling, and roll call vote.
Henry Hill.
Yes?
Basil LaFors.
Yes?
Roger Black.
Yes.
Patrick Duhane.
Yes.
Melanie Moore.
Yes.
And you'll be all set for next month for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Krupka.
Wait, could we do adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
I don't have Sherm here, he's usually the one that's right on that.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Matthew. He's our intern. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great care, it didn't, I mean, I know we just have to grant it, they asked for it,
Come up with something else, or?
If we're gonna
That
keep up with the Zoom, we gotta
Love
get
that
that
highway
right.
for that part, that color.
Especially if those ones right there, probably older than I am. The mic and cable not there. It's tough.
Right.
Last month, we guys had it down pat, we had no
I think
issue.
it gives a false sense
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, let's say there's something off this week, and I didn't want to.
of. We gotta coming back and.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll get to those numbers.
That would be awesome. I can't wait. Oh, yeah. This is I thought it was gonna be the first time in 21 years I hadn't been down there.
Yeah, because I'll double check, but I'll get you the numbers anyway, because it's always changing.
You can take that if you want. I think that this-
I know. So I was going to the naval one. I was like, this is perfect. I'm gonna shoot right in there. We can leave the rental car.